Hi, everyone. So today we're doing an interview with Dr. Carlo Biasucci. So he's built a very successful practice in Northern Ontario, and currently he runs a company called Elite Practice. And Dr. Biasucci has a very interesting story that I think a lot of dentists should, hear, and a lot of dentists should kind of focus on some of the things he's been focusing on. So I'll let him tell the story, but essentially, due to an unfortunate accident, he had to, switch gears and really focus on working on the business rather than in the business. And he was quite successful doing that. So Dr. Biasucci, I want to, wonder if you can maybe go into that story, because I really connected with it. I think it's something that a lot of dentists can learn from. Can you tell us a bit about, what happened? What happened that made you sort of switch gears, and which ultimately led to, you building a very successful practice?
Sure. Yeah. And thanks, Nick. I'll tell you we always have those defining moments in our lives. If you look back over your life, there's always this two or three things that, you can really just put it right down to a moment that changed your thinking, changed your path. And so this, as you're bringing up, was one of those for me. I call it both a blessing and a curse. I mean, now it's the best thing that could have happened, but at the time it didn't seem like it. So go back, 10 years now. I was I would say conventionally successful dentist, $2.5 million practice. We were, running, doing the best we could with the 7 chairs we had in a small town in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. And things were going well, but it was stressful. It was a lot of grinding. It was a lot of, typical small business, right? Where the owner is
we hear it all the time. Yeah, with
you're trying to wear all the hats and you're trying to do everything, yourself, and you've got a few key people, and you're just everyone's just by brute force making it happen. And then, through my wife and I were big divers, and we would go quarterly somewhere really nice. Loved Grand Cayman as a destination. And one trip we were there was December 2012. The first dive of the week of dives that we had scheduled. I took a decompression injury, and I didn't know it. It was subtle until it wasn't. And so I tried one more dive that day. Ended up back in our suite, and basically I stared at the wall for 3 hours, is what my wife says. And then following that, all kinds of issues. Like I couldn't feel the left side of my body for until I went into a decompression chamber for 9 hours, and then that precipitated all kinds of further treatments and such. Hyperbaric treatment for, I don't know, I probably did it for 6 weeks on and off, but it took me a while to recover. So I'd say about 6 months to get back to dentistry. So when you have a really busy practice that really depends on you, and then you get kicked out of that in a hurry. Right now with COVID and all these things that are happening, people are maybe a little more attuned to disruption. But 10 years ago, things were just smooth.
You run like clockwork. Yeah. It was
not
a lot happened in dentistry. Yeah.
That's right. Early 30s, you're invincible still, and you could just kind of, 3 coffees and I'll take care of it kind of thing. And then you get this, sudden reality check on your mortality, and it forces you to come out of that and think, okay, what am I doing? Where am I? Where's my life going? Do I like this? First of all, is this something I want to work up to get back to? Where am I? So this big, this discussion that you're forced into makes you start to think about, okay, well, maybe this is not exactly what I wanted. And so when you start thinking about it, well, how do the best businesses out there have thousands of employees and I'm stressed out with 12? And what is that? How could we make this better? So I wouldn't really have originally the vision of growing the practice to the size that it grew to, but I wanted to make it better. I wanted to systemize it. I wanted to, I really went down and studied for the whole time I was off. I didn't just sit there and ponder life. I gave myself a very short pity party, and then I went to work, and I studied every mentor, read, I don't know how many books, probably 100 books during that time. What do we do differently as dentists that we ought not be doing when we look at the best companies out there? So I studied in depth Disney, Ritz-Carlton, and a handful of others like Cheesecake Factory and a few others that ring a bell that I can recall, that they really just made an impression on me as how did these businesses grow from small operation to big operation to worldwide operation and manage it so well. And no, we can't do that exactly as a dental practice, but there are so many pieces that we can pull into that. And so when we started looking at the systems, the training, the leadership requirements that you can pull into a dental office, the net result of that is over the 3 years that followed. So I took that year was kind of a write-off for me, but I started putting pieces in place. The following year, in the 2 years that followed, we tripled the practice. So from 2.5 million, we tripled it to just over 7 million. And we grew to 40 team members, 9 dentists, 17 operatories. Big practice, but it was way easier to run and much smoother of an operation. And it basically just changed the game completely in terms of what was I doing personally. And again, it allowed me to reset my life, reset of what did I want to do then. I mean, I at that time we were contemplating having kids. No, we in that time we had our first child. I started slowing down, changing my schedule, building the practice to support the life I wanted rather than it consuming my life. So previously it was just whatever the practice needed, I just gave the time because that was the most important thing. And then we needed to, when you realize that that's just not the point of life, that's not why I'm here, is to just work my brains out. We shifted the focus completely to supporting the lifestyle that we wanted.